Hello, Ninja Riders.
Hey, Ninja Runners. Happy
Hello.
Wednesday.
Happy hump day.
How's
My
it
goodness
going?
gracious. I met this guy when I was in Allentown at the paper show.
Mm-hmm.
With Andrew, and he sells he on Facebook. He's the vintage photo guy, and so that's all he does, right? And he messaged me after I got home, and he's like, "Do you want all these photos?" And he sent me a picture of them, and I was like, "Sure." And so I bought them. They were a really good deal, but they came, and it's 9,000 photos.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just like
that's a lot of photos.
But they're so cool, and I'm thinking I got to figure out a way, because each one is like a story. You know what I mean? Like every single one of them is a story.
So they could be like prompts, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like something.
Like
I'm gonna think on it.
A photo prompt.
Very cool though. I'm going through them, and I'm like totally entranced by them. But I it's a lot of photos.
A writer's photo prompt pack.
Yes, Ninja Writer's photo prompt. Like, I don't know. They're so interesting. I was gonna show you this. Like, look at. I don't know. They're just like, look at this one I just found today in my pile. Isn't that cool?
Oh yeah, wow.
And like, I don't know. This one makes me think of the Christmas Story.
Oh, definitely. I think
but here it is colorized.
But I think that is him.
No, it's not though.
It's not.
It's not. It's just that's what kids look like in the 50s. Or like, what were these people doing that day? You know,
Shelly said it's a good idea to use them for prompts.
Yes, I think so. I'm so like entranced. Like, what was this guy thinking that day? You know, what was he doing?
I don't know. I can't see. You got to hold it up there for a little bit longer than that. I can't.
He's like leaning against a Marine barracks sign.
Oh, yeah.
So is it like his first day?
Right. Or he tried to go home. He can't go home, so he's taking the picture to send home. It's kind of cool to think about the families that were involved.
It's Pearl Harbor. He's in Pearl Harbor there.
Wow.
Pat McCann, one of my roommates. I don't know. They're fascinating to me, right?
I think it would be fascinating to try to find the people.
Yeah, I have a friend, Tina, who I just barely, before this call, I finished talking to her because I found a bunch that were from, not in that lot from Andrew, but I had a bunch that were from Reading, and she does genealogy for Berks County, Pennsylvania, which I think that's where Reading, I don't know, but I knew Reading was one of her cities. And so I like let her know I had them, see if she wanted them. But that's what she does, is she finds all the people and like researches them and stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool to get the pictures back to the original.
Yeah, I keep thinking maybe one of these days I'll find somebody will have like a picture and it'll have my house in it, you know, but from 100 years ago or whatever. My house was built in the 1920s. Can I use them in a book? Sure, I own them, so I think they're not copyrighted or anything.
Carly says she has a friend who created a book of her European pictures for prompts. Yeah, I think that could be fun. Like just even, 10 of them in a Ziploc bag or something and sell it as a prompt
pack. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
I'd have, because I could go through them and pick the ones that are, because there's a lot of them are just like someone standing on their front lawn.
Yeah, but still, it's still.
Well, but you wouldn't want to buy like 10 of those. Like, there's some that are definitely like that one of the guy leaning against his the barrack sign. Like, there's a story there, that's more obvious than like one of the 1,000 or so I have of someone standing on their front lawn.
Yeah, but you could pull the ones of people standing on the front lawns out, and then just give everybody one of those, and then 5 or 6 or 8 of the rest of them.
They're fascinating.
I mean, I'd pay $5 or $6 for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. We'll see. Maybe I'll put that in my Etsy shop and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Carly's a friend. Oh, a European pictures. Yeah, that's cool. I got I have one photo album that I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to sell because I love it so much that I'm just keeping it. But I do think I'm gonna scan it because it's so cool. It's from France and it starts in 1895 and it's just photos of the same person. Her name's Suzanne, from when she was a girl, like a baby, a newborn baby, all the way through to old age.
Wow.
And the pictures are fast. She's like the most fascinating face. And the pictures are beautiful. Like one of her parents must have been a photographer or something. They're not like snapshots. They're like she's wearing costumes, and like in one of them she's dressed up like Marie Antoinette or something. Like they're so cool. And I think I'm gonna take if they would make a great images for a children's book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Carly says her friend's focus is more on places than people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's
I
kind of
think that
fascinating too, to see
I'm
how
like
things change.
fascinated by ephemera, like things that aren't supposed to last very long or into centuries. Photographs is one thing, but also I have this. Well, I sold it, but it was a set of letters that were written in the 1950s during the Korean War, and they
Wow.
were from a girl to a soldier, but he was stationed stateside in Texas. But he wrote on the front of one of them the first letter. So it was the first one she sent to him. And it was just, she's young, like maybe just out of high school. And I don't think there's photos of him and he's not very old either, like probably just 2 or 3 years older than her. But you could see the progression and it's over 6 months. But in the subtext, like a sub story or a subplot, his older brother is in Korea. So there's letters that are addressed. Well, they go through I don't remember what it's called, but it's the Army postal, so they're going to and from the US, but he's in Korea. But the postmark is still, I don't know exactly how that works. But on his letter, he wrote Korea at the top, that he's in Korea. And then he's gone. He's missing or something. No one's heard from him. And all of that is in these letters back and forth because the girl lives near his parents. And so she's telling him, like, I saw your mom and she's so worried about Guy and all of this stuff. And then he comes back and they find him and he comes home to the US. And that's all in the subtext of these love letters. And then it ends, the last one, the girl is like, next time we meet each other, we have to finish our conversation. I think what we've decided is that we really like each other. And that's the last one.
Wow.
But I was like, oh my God, these are amazing. Amazing. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's sad to me that that nobody in his family wanted to keep that.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean they didn't want to keep it. It could mean that people in his family didn't even know those letters existed. They were just in a drawer and somebody scooped up all the clothes.
Well,
and
I think what happened
and...
was that they were in a drawer and then, he died and they got sold in an estate sale. And probably you're right.
Yeah.
All right. That's a story, Shelley. It is. And it even had a subplot. I'm just saying.
Right.
It was fascinating to read. I mean, there's nothing in the letters, just like this starts out actually with him writing, another girl writing him, and you can tell that it's not going good, like it's ending. And then his grandma writes to him, like, I know you don't want to hear this from me, but I've seen Nan, her name's Nan. Is Nan here? Nan, and she still has a warm heart for you and she loves you. And I think you should. So there's Gran like pushing a third girl on him, but he's totally in love with Paloma. I don't know. It was so good. And then his brother, I don't know, but he never, it's only 6 months, but that whole time he was in Texas.
So he was in Texas, but his brother was in Korea.
His older brother.
And so it was the brother that went missing.
And the brother, like nobody heard from him for a while, and the parents were real upset. Like everyone was real worried. And then I don't know if he got injured or what, but he did get sent back to the US. So I'm assuming that he was injured. It wasn't in the letters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys want to talk about today?
Yeah. Not my hobby.
Oh no, I mean we could talk more about your hobby, but
Mm-mm.
I just
I'm
thought if
kidding. I
um
am totally joking. Um, I think we should talk about NaNoWriMo maybe. Who's doing NaNoWriMo? We have a couple weeks until it's going to be time to get started on that. I have
mhm.
a solid plan of finishing 312. I today during our 10-minute write-in, I finished reading the entire book and I have to write 2 chapters. And so I actually, if I could get those done before the first, then on the first I could spend the entire day working on a brand new project, which would make me
Oh,
can't even tell you.
that
So
sounds
very exciting.
motivating.
Yes. So I think I'm gonna really try to
Shelly's
finish.
gonna do nano.
Oh, good. Zach's birthday's tomorrow. So I think we need to like figure out a way to like sing happy birthday publicly to him. But um Zach's birthday's tomorrow. My birthday is next week on Thursday. So I'm thinking I might try to take Thursday off of teaching and everything and then for my birthday and like give myself the birthday gift of finishing that stupid book on that day so that on the first I can just write something totally different.
That would be cool. Carly's gonna do
Yes, I
nano.
can't tell you. It
She's
would
doing
be
prep this month.
cool.
We do have a NaNoWriMo section in our club for anybody that hasn't seen that yet.
Mm-hmm. And I think we should do, I think when we do our all day write in, like maybe we'll take an hour in the beginning, maybe not right at the beginning because 9 a.m. is only 6 in the morning. And then maybe at lunchtime, we'll take a lunchtime moment and do like H2DSI or something as a group so that in
Mm-hmm.
case you don't know exactly what you're writing,
Mm-hmm.
you can get your 5 key plot points down. I think we could do that in an hour.
And we're going to be doing prize giveaways. Don't forget, because
No,
we're
not on the
doing.
first though, right? Or we are. That'll be over on
Oh,
the.
I thought it was going through the first.
Oh, is it? Okay, we're doing
Yeah.
giveaways on the first two. I
But
didn't
we
know.
would have had it from 5 to 6, so it'll be like at towards the end of the write-in.
Yeah, we're doing 9 to 9 write-in on November 1st. But I think at lunchtime we could take a break from writing. Well, just take like that time. I guess you could still write. You don't have to do it. But if you wanted to, we could do H2DSI. And then from 5 to 6, we'll have like our little giveaways and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
November 1st,
November
Sherry,
1st.
it's a Monday. So there won't be any Ninja Writers classes that day, just the write-in. I'm very excited. I love our all-day write-in so much. You have no, just, I love them so much. Because I get to just say, I'm not doing anything today except writing.
Right.
Don't bother me. I'm writing.
And leading up to that, we're going to do the Ninja Writers Accountability Kickoff again, like we did in April.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have on the 31st, come in costume to the Zoom call.
I'm going to have to get a costume together. I don't think I have one unless I'm a deer again, which
You
I don't
can just create one.
Yeah.
Just come up with something.
I could.
We had so much fun in April.
What are you going to work on for? Are you doing NaNoWriMo?
I'm going to write. I don't think I'm going to start fiction. I don't think I'm going to work on fiction. I don't know. I really, I'm going to spend the first working on my freelancing series because I really want to get those done before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll probably depend on how far I get with that, you know.
Shelly asked if I got an email from her, and I don't remember getting one. Did you see one come through? Let me see if she sent it to you.
I don't remember seeing one, but I'm in a puzzle, so my memory fails me all the time. So let me go.
Yeah, it didn't come to shauntagrimes@gmail.com.
Let me see.
Oh, no.
Oh, it just came today.
Oh, okay.
Or I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it.
The 19th, yesterday. So I see it.
Yeah, I'll look at it when we're done here. If you forward it to me.
Yep, yep. We will. I will forward this to Shanta and she'll look at it, Shelly. But I'm sure we could figure something out. I'm sending it
Yeah,
to you right now, Shanta.
thank you. We could talk about, because in November we have actually, we have a couple things coming up in November. One is that the Academy is launching for 2022. So how that works is the people that are already in the Academy will be able to sign up first to save their, to get their spots, and that'll be the first week of November. And then the second week of November we'll open it up to brand new students. And then we also have a new program starting, which we're going to talk more about that on Saturday at 11 o'clock in a Zoom call. You will get an invitation to that today or tomorrow.
Super excited about that.
I am too. And the more that I think about it and the more I plan for it, the more excited I get. And that's always a good sign for me.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to my dad yesterday and he's really excited about it. And he's even talking about coming to Pennsylvania during the month of April so that he could be here to teach the class like with me here. So that would be a lot of fun. I miss my dad a lot. My brothers, I haven't been able to travel to see them since COVID. So hopefully it will be safe for him to travel here in April. Feels like both a very long way away and also not very long at all.
Yeah. I personally think that this summer went by so fast. So fast.
I feel like I'm still trying to get a handle on 2020 and then all of a sudden it's almost 2022 and like what happened to 2021 anyway?
Yeah, it feels like the whole year
like
just
the whole year just didn't even like
sped
I
by.
spent the entire year trying to recover from 2020 and then I still haven't done that and now here it is 2022 already. It will be so nice for me to see my dad. He's also planning a trip probably in June to Mexico City, which I'll go with him on. My girls and I'll go at least. Maybe Nick, but definitely Adrian and Ruby will want to go. I love Mexico. If it was just me, I'd live in Mexico. It's warm and beautiful. And
Shelly said she has an adjacent connection to the place your dad grew up in.
Oh, in Texas. Huh. That's interesting.
They adopted a child from there. Friends of hers adopted a child
from Bull's home.
And Sherry says she has. I think she meant I have no sense of time anymore. Sherry said.
Me either. It's
I totally agree with you. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
Sometimes somebody will say something to me and I literally have to stop and think like, what day is this? Like I have no clue ever. It's crazy.
Yep.
Crazy.
I have days like that too. And I was blaming it on the menopause, but I really think that some of it is like the aftermath of COVID.
But you didn't have COVID, did you?
No, I didn't have COVID, but I mean just the whole
just the whole yeah, well, COVID, I mean it's not even an aftermath, it's still happening. And it's you and I both belong to a Facebook group run by one of my favorite authors who is Sharon Astic, and it scares the pants off me every freaking day. I'm like, oh my God, because she's so smart. And then the stuff she says is so scary. Like,
yeah, if you're not stocking up, guys, stock up because
yeah.
Yeah, the lockdowns part, Carly, that's what I was talking about. Like when we were in lockdown, I didn't have to go anywhere else. And I spent literally 16 hours a day on Zoom. Just every day. It was so, looking back in hindsight, it was so ridiculous. The amount of time that I was spending on Zoom, it was just ridiculous. But I had, no place to go. I didn't have to take kids back and forth to school.
COVID has been really odd because I'm like equal parts totally like more productive than I've ever been
Mhm.
ever. Like I've gotten
Mhm.
more done and more, and also like who cares, because I can't go anywhere and I can't do anything, and so like
Mhm.
great, I'm more productive, but only because like every fun thing that I've ever done in my life I can't do
Exactly.
anymore.
Exactly.
Prepper
Right.
stuff. Oh no,
Days
it's
in
not
your
prepper
PJs.
stuff. Sharon is it's not like heavy prepper stuff anyway. It's
It's
more
not
like,
doomsday prepper.
no, it's more like
Practical.
practical, but also she just has this real insight into it's, for me it's terrifying, but also mostly because it rings really true. It's not like zombie apocalypse. It's like, hey, she focuses a lot on community and like how to, she calls it, and I don't think she calls, I mean, I don't think this is her word, but the words she uses is adapting in place, like how to make the home you're already in, not moving off to a bunker somewhere, but like, what are you going to do to help your elderly neighbor or your neighbor who can't, whatever. And it's very science based, and it scares the pants off me. It does.
Mhm.
But mostly because it's so stinking true. The name of the Facebook group is A Way Forward, and Sharon Astick is ASTYK, I think. She has a book called Independence Days. It's one of my favorites. If this stuff doesn't keep you up at night, or if it does, and you actually, it's helpful to me to know like there's one person whose opinion I trust, and I don't have to like just go out and hope I'm getting good information from somewhere. So for me, that's Sharon, but it tends to be relatively apolitical. Like it's not super political, or, um, you know, I mean, it's hard not to be political. And I think that her politics probably align with mine pretty well. So that's okay. I mean, I might be saying it's apolitical because she agrees with me. But there's not a lot of political stuff in what she writes. It's mostly just like, here's what's happening in the world, here's what scientists are saying, and then trying to break it up so that you can understand it.
Mhm. Shelly said she always tells her sister that we'll be coming to hunker down with her if we need something like that. They live on 100 acres of land. Wow.
Yeah, I have
That's my
no
dream
acres, but
place
my
right
whole
there.
family lives in a place that if you believe in climate change or that kind of thing, Nevada is a ridiculous place to live. There is no water. There's nothing grows there. Everything has to be shipped in. You're totally reliant on the electrical grid, because otherwise you're going to burn up, like melt in your house in Las Vegas, where my family is. And I tell them all the time, like, I bought a big old house with a giant basement and a giant attic because I have 8 brothers and sisters, and they live somewhere that I just don't think is viable.
Right.
I mean, it is today, but not long term. That's why we didn't move back to Las Vegas when we left Reno.
Mhm.
But even Reno, the weather's better and it's not so hot, but the whole freaking place burns down every year. The air quality's so bad this year that they had to cancel school.
Well, you and I are actually in one of the best areas. For,
Yes. That's
for
what,
those
when
that believe
I
in
was moving,
climate
I
change, this
Googled
is
where do climate scientists think is the best place to live, and the best place in the entire US, was what I read, was western PA, eastern, or Ohio, like right where Meg and I live.
mhm.
Winters are better, because when my husband was growing up here, he had to dig his way out of his house every winter and stuff. Like it was huge amount of snow, and it snows less here than it does in Reno.
Oh yeah, we get a lot less snow here.
Lots of
We
rain, which means that,
things will
like,
grow.
yeah, things grow. It was weird to me because I would look at, when we first moved here, I'd look at the farms and I'd be like, there's something wrong with them. Like it doesn't look right. And it is missing all of that irrigation apparatus that I'm used to, because they don't need it here. It just like rains. And I asked myself, like, what was Las Vegas like 100 years ago? And it was like nothing, like uncomfortable. A few people live there, but not many. It was not. And what was it like here? Exactly what it's like now. Like, so
We do get less snow.
we don't
No.
get as much snow as they used to. So in this part of where I am and where Meg is, the winters are nicer and the growing season has gotten longer because of COVID
Yeah,
or
definitely.
COVID because of climate change. So it's
Mm-hmm.
affecting it positively. But there's also a lot of infrastructure here for more people because it's unpopular to live in this kind of, I don't know, Eastern Midwest. I don't know what you call it. Do you consider yourself in the Midwest?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that like as a Westerner, I wouldn't have thought Pennsylvania doesn't sound like a Midwestern
Well, I don't
state.
know if
But my
Pennsylvania.
edge of PA definitely has a very
I don't
Midwestern
know if
feel to it.
Pennsylvania people think of themselves as Midwest, but I definitely
Well,
do in
I think
Ohio.
that I'm on the very western, like in the northwestern corner of
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, and I don't know what it's very different from like Philadelphia is very urban, and this is very, it feels Midwestern to me,
Well,
but
it's more rural. I mean,
it's more rural, but like this town has the infrastructure for twice as many people as actually live here now. You know, like when my husband was a kid growing up here, it had 15,000 and now there's 9,000. So it's not falling apart. It's just that there's room for growth, so more people could move here. I don't know. It's very interesting.
yeah. So Pennsylvania is. I'm looking it up right now. It says Pennsylvania is definitely Appalachia, but
Yeah.
it doesn't include it in
I don't
Midwest.
think it's technically the Midwest, but I do think that there's a
But
very
here's one that doesn't necessarily. Well, wait. Let me do more items. Maybe it's. Let me look at this whole thing here.
the western part of Pennsylvania and the eastern part of Pennsylvania are very different.
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania has a lot of different, because when I've gone to, like I was in Allentown, and when I've gone to Lancaster, which is closer to the middle, it's like middle to more eastern, and it's
Yeah.
very Amish.
Yeah. It does not
Very,
include.
and I Amish, very farmy, like very, very many farms, lots of corn.
Evidently, it is. It says
Cornfields and cemeteries, you guys.
Pittsburghers scoff at the idea of being lumped in with the flatlands to the west, but being an East Coast group with Boston and Philly doesn't seem right either.
No.
Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. Can a city have no region? So they looked at three things. They looked at um, garden foods and ranch dressing. They looked at Yinsers and Pennsylvanians, which I guess is accents. Um, and then they looked at state lines and trend centers. And let's see what the
What was like the
distinction was.
census?
That's what I'm looking. It's a messy answer. It says Mueller said the answer came to him while working on an atlas of Pennsylvania in the 1980s. Pittsburgh is an eastern city in its culture, but it's not East Coast. So now they don't even know if it's part of the East Coast.
Well, I would say Pittsburgh itself is a city, and it's a more urban, although it's more like it's not like Philadelphia, or Philadelphia has a very urban feel to it that Pittsburgh just doesn't have. But I am not near Pittsburgh. I'm far north of Pittsburgh.
The Midwest starts at the Ohio border. Is basically what it's.
Yeah, I'm like 5 seconds from the Ohio border, and I'm just telling you that, like when I have gone from Pittsburgh to say, I mean, from where I live to say Cleveland, there's the difference is.
Now they do say when it comes to food, Pittsburgh is 100% Midwestern.
Oh yeah. I have told you many times about the food. There's like a literal, like, you know, culture shock is a thing, but the culture shock that has been the biggest thing for me is the food.
We love our
Pennsylvanians, is it a Midwestern thing? They like really highly processed foods that are bland, like bland. and also a lot of, except sauerkraut, which is not bland, and I like sauerkraut, but come on, like how much sauerkraut can one person eat? And they love sausage and bologna and that kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. Like there is like regional bologna, and like if you go to my local grocery store over here, there's like you cannot buy tamale wrappers, like the corn things. To Cindy Heath, I don't know if she's here, but she had to send me some from Texas because I was like, I can't make tamales. I can't buy tamales, and I can't even make tamales because they don't sell the corn thingies. It
Mm.
never occurred to me that that wasn't just a thing everywhere. And but I'm not, no joke. There is like an entire whole case in the meat, the food, the cold food section for
Mm-hmm.
bologna. There's got to be 30 different varieties of bologna.
According to the census, Pennsylvania is mid-Atlantic.
But like
So,
3 seconds away from
yeah,
Midwest.
3 seconds away from the
Where
Midwest.
I
So we
am
are
in is
mid-Atlantic.
just because it's very different the further east you get. It gets different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no, I'm just saying.
So
I feel like I'm in the Midwest. It has a very Midwestern um, sensibility. I think it's very like when I have traveled to like Cleveland, to that part of Ohio that's close to me.
Sherry said the food
Very,
comes from the German settlers.
no, yep,
Yes.
yep, and
Mm-hmm. My grandfather was German.
well, I don't know. I just know that my husband, the whole time we've been married, has told me he never ate a taco till he moved to Nevada, and I was like, and he kept saying they don't have them there, and I kept saying that
Oh,
it's
yes, they do.
impossible. I kept saying it's impossible. No, in this town where he grew up, there's no tacos. There's a Taco Bell. It wasn't here when he was a kid.
Hmm.
So there's not even a and Taco Bell does not count. That's not tacos. Come
Yeah,
on.
Taco Bell's not real tacos. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
there's like
I've eaten
literally
tacos. I've eaten tacos since I was a kid. So I think,
there in where
mm,
I am in the town that he grew up in. He was not joking. There are no Mexican food restaurants here. And when I've gone to like Erie, there's Mexican food restaurants, but what it feels like to me is that someone who's never eaten a taco thought opening a Mexican restaurant would be a good thing. And so they made something that looks like a taco, but it's like not a taco. There's no taco flavor in it. Like, I don't know. So I make my own tacos. I've gotten really good at it, but it is weird. Like I never realized that Nevada is a relatively foodie state until I left, and then I was like, oh, wow.
hmm.
My town does not have. There's one little restaurant that I really like that has barbecue. It's pretty good.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
We
we have.
used to be called Berlin until the war.
She's
Oh,
in Kitchener,
Kitchener,
Ontario.
Ontario
Hmm.
is above Ohio, and we are big German area Oktoberfest. Yeah, lots of German
We have
influence, right?
Oktoberfest here too.
Yeah. Do you have Amish people where you are, Meg?
Yeah, we do. South of where I am in Middlefield, it's maybe half an hour.
We have a big Amish presence where I am,
Yeah,
and then
there's a big Amish presence here too.
yeah, yeah, at my auction every Tuesday, I hang out
They're
with.
pretty smart people. They've managed to live without a lot of the amenities that we all became dependent on, and
Yeah,
so they fared very well, I think, in COVID because they were so isolated.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, in my town, they Amish people are like, I mean, I don't know. I see a lot of like horses and carts,
Hmm.
but I don't ever see them. Like I see Amish people all the time in the stores and stuff, but I don't ever see, like, I don't know how they're getting there because I never see their carts like outside of Walmart or something.
Hmm.
So
Well, some of them will use
Mennonites.
technology. They just can't own technology.
No, I think that they yeah, that neighbors give them rides to the store or whatever. That's what I think, but I don't know. Mennonites here too, Carly. And when I
Yeah.
would, if you go to like Lancaster or even Philadelphia, there's a lot of Mennonite food is really good.
Yeah. Middlefield here is one of the fourth largest settlements, actually.
Hmm. Interesting.
So it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Um, like when we went to the Burton Fair, which is a pretty big fair, and it's in the middle of that area, and it was, probably, I would say it was probably 50-50 people who were Amish versus people who were not, that
Carly
were.
says in Ontario, the barn, Amish barn, has technology, but not the house.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Mennonite is a little different than Amish, though. They definitely drive cars. Mennonites drive cars. This has been a very interesting conversation. There's nothing to do. Does anyone have any questions about writing that we can help you with? Anything you're feeling stuck on? I've been thinking a lot lately about inciting incidents and lock-ins and how important they are. And then I actually just posted something on Medium about like writing a tragedy. Anybody out there who's listening feel like you're writing a tragedy? I have to, like, tragedies are one of those things that I I know about, like, technically. I know how to pace a tragedy, but I don't read them. I don't do sad stuff very well, so um, tragedy is not something I would like choose. You know what I mean? So I always feel
Mm-hmm.
a little bad when someone I don't know if Sarah's here, but she's writing a tragedy, and so is Cindy. Um, Not Cindy Heath, the other Cindy is writing a tragedy, and I'm like, I find myself needing to stop myself from trying to tell them, you don't, like, here's what you could do instead of that tragic thing. But I was working with a coaching client recently who had a tragic thing happening at the end of her story, and it really made me think about, like, what makes something a tragedy. And it's not enough to just have a tragic end, right? Or something tragic happen at the end. The whole story has to be paced for that tragedy. Because she wanted to have, or she, in her original plan was to have one of the major characters die, like, right, like in the scene just before the final scene of the story. And I was like, I mean, you can have her die, but it can't be the end. And you can't, because then it was not a tragic story. So, like, she dies, and then the main character, like, something good happens, and then it's over. And I was like, the pacing is off and it's jarring. You can have that, but it needs to be like 3/4 of the way through, so that there's a time for the resolution. Like, if it's the resolution of the story is this important character dies, then that's tragic. And no amount of having a few pages at the end that are not tragic makes it not a tragedy.
Right. Shelley said
But
her character receives a letter from her dead mother telling her that she was murdered and giving her the goal of solving her murder. I think it's my inciting incident. So,
yeah, I
wait,
would say that sounds
the dead mother was murdered or the main character was murdered?
it, well, she wouldn't need a letter from her mother telling her she was murdered. She'd be dead.
Well, maybe if she didn't know that she was dead. But that's the
Well,
way I
she was
read it. The way you
supposed.
wrote
Yeah,
that
I think that's
sentence.
grammatically how, but I'm pretty sure she means that the dead mother was murdered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably true. That's probably,
I mean, that sounds like an inciting incident to me.
and when she decides to actually do it, right? Because getting a letter from your dead mother would not be part of her normal world, right?
Mm-mm. Yeah, we got that. We had to talk it out a little, but we understood, I think. Yeah, a tragedy, um, a tragedy is hopeless. That's like I always say, the main character is either dead or would be better off dead, but it's more than they're dead, because you can have a non-tragic story where the main character dies at the end, like, say, The Notebook, which is definitely not a tragedy, but the main
Oh,
character
that story.
dies. I love that story, but it's not tragic because it's not hopeless. The whole, like in a tragic story, even in the high point, which in a tragic story happens where the dark night of the soul is, in a non-tragic story, about 3/4 of the way through, there's not, it's got like almost a manic feel. Like you don't know, or you don't feel like everything's going to be okay, because things are not okay, and they haven't been okay, and they're not going to be okay. I mean, there's just not a feeling of hope in a tragic story. Marilyn was asking me about Sophie's Choice, and that got me thinking about tragic stories can be so hard to read and write that often there's like a mechanism in place to make it easier. And I think that one of those mechanisms is telling a story through eyes of an unrelated character. So Sophie's Choice is told that way through the eyes of the writer, who's like an adjacent third party. And so is The Great Gatsby, is told through Nick's point of view, and it's a tragedy, but Nick's story is not a tragedy, so we get it kind of filtered through Nick, and it becomes less tragic, or not less tragic, but easier to take, less dismal. But The Great Gatsby is a tragedy. Sophie's Choice, I'm gonna go with it. I mean, Marilyn was like, "Well, it's like The Notebook," and then I have not seen. Like I told you, I don't do tragedies on purpose very often, but I went and looked it up and read like the whole premise and the spark notes and stuff, and I was like, "Oh no, nope, this is a tragedy. This is a tragic story. It is tragedy. It's paced for a tragedy, but the main character's story is not an actual tragedy." And so, because not the main character, but the narrating character, right? He's telling Sophie's story, just like Nick is telling Gatsby's story. And Gatsby's the main character, Sophie's the main character, but we're getting the story filtered, because otherwise it would just be impossible to take. Like, it would be despondent, So that's my thoughts this week on tragedy. I don't do tragic stories, though. I mean, I don't go out of my way to read them on purpose, because I don't know, I like happy stuff. I don't mind sad. I just need a happy ending. I need hope. Carly says I want hope. Me too. Like me too. When it's funny though, whenever I teach kids, half of them either tell me they're writing a tragedy. I mean, they really want to be writing a tragedy. Kids are, they have that ennui thing going on, and they just really want to be writing a tragic story. Way more often than adults are. Most stories are not tragic though. And often when they are, like in Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, Johnny's story is pretty important in that story, and it's tragic. He's got a tragic storyline, but it's told through Pony Boy. We get Pony Boy's story first, and that makes it, his is definitely not tragic, and his friend dies, and that's sad. But for Pony Boy, that happens at the dark night of the soul moment, which is the end of the story for Johnny, because he dies. Man, if you don't know that already, that book is like 1,000,000 years old. So sorry for the spoiler, but you should totally have already read Outlander. Me and all my kids were assigned to be read in the 6th grade.
You mean Outsiders?
Outsiders. What did I say? Outlander.
You said Outlander, yeah.
S.E. Hinton, Outsiders, not Diana Gabaldon's Outlander. Sorry.
Both of which are very good, though.
Both of which are amazing, yeah. But Outlander is nothing like a tragedy. Okay, so what other questions do you guys have? Shelly, are you feeling good about your story? Me too, Sherry. So you're writing something entirely different. Did you finish your other story, Shelly Stewart?
Shelly has been very prolific.
She has, but I wonder if she finished the story she was writing. It was a fantasy.
If she didn't finish it, she's very close.
Oh,
Shelly.
she finished.
Yeah, I knew she was
Woo-hoo.
close.
So is this
Good
new
job,
one? Is this
Shelly.
your NaNoWriMo story? This mystery? She's still working on it.
Oh, I thought she finished it.
I thought that's what that yes was for.
Yeah, me
That
too.
was if she was here.
You're
All right,
close
guys.
though.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up a few minutes early. I have a workshop that is coming up, and so does Meg. So we will talk to you guys next week at the same time. Have your questions ready. This is like our office
What do you
hours.
guys want to talk about next week? We need a topic.
Yeah. Then you should write it down.
I will write it down if somebody gives me a topic.
What would you guys like to talk about next week? We can
Next
prepare.
week will be the 27th. We're going to be really close to Halloween.
Yeah, my birthday will be the next day.
We should talk about
Most importantly.
something spooky.
Bye, Carly. We could talk about spookiness.
Yeah, let's talk about what scares you.
Okay, we'll talk about scary story. We'll talk about horror next week.
Yeah.
That'll be a good topic.
And ghost stories and spiritual stories, and yeah, it'll be fun.
We can talk about Ray Bradbury, my favorite.
Oh, there you go.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.